So I decided it was time to do a bit of work on this Ronaldson Tippett CH engine. Last time I did a video on it, I got it to run. That was just after getting it, but I haven't been able to get it to run since, and it's got no compression, well, just very light compression. So what I did, taking the valves out, it's got a very strange system. That's your well, I guess what you call your tappets, I don't know. It runs your valves, and your valves actually stick in the side of the engine. So it goes in like that, from the other side. It's a very strange system. I've never worked on an engine like this before. And then the other valve goes in, you can see the light through. And then this here is your whole chamber comes out, valve and all. So there's the valve. It's got a copper ring just on the edge there, and that's obviously to seal when you put it back in. So I'm going to have to make sure that that seals properly, because that might have even been where it was leaking. And then that's the other, I haven't even worked out how to get that valve apart yet, because it's not got collets like the other one. The other one just has your normal two collets that you just push the valve and they pop out. I've also been wondering what these two bolts here are for, because on this side the valve just sits there with the spring. I've got a feeling they could actually be, you use those to compress the valve to put the collets back in. It seems weird that they would do that, but it could be a very, very well built engine made for working on it in mind. So I've got to just grind those valves in and make sure that it's not the actual copper washer that's leaking, and then I've got to service the injector. And other than that, inside the engine looks alright. The wall of the cylinder is a little bit pitted, but there's not much play on the piston at all. It has a very strange system. That would be your piston coming up, so it's shaped like that with a point on top, and it will come right up into here. So there's your valves on each side, and that's your injector at the top coming down. So when this goes up, there's no space, you know, just squeezes right in there, and then it fires. There's actually a little hole, a slit in there, and three little holes that come out down here. So when it fires, it must blow down there as well as on top. It's a very, very different system to what I've ever come across before. But then all your gases, your inlet and your outlet, have to travel all in this tiny little space just there. So I can't imagine it would be a very efficient system either. But that's how they built it, so we'll work on getting it running again. And this engine here, I'm actually going to keep it in original condition. I'm not going to paint it, I want to just clean it. The only issue I've got with that is these are your fuel tank brackets, and they're obviously snapped and the fuel tank's long gone, so I'm going to have to make a fuel tank for it, and just trying to work out what do I do with that, what colour do I paint it, or, you know, I think black. You can get away with painting black and it goes with an original engine, but that's my plans for this engine anyway. Another issue I've got with this engine is obviously the fuel tank will sit up here and the fuel comes down and it goes in here and out down here to this pipe here, if you can see that, and that goes down to the fuel pump. And there's an old manky cloth filter in there which is perished, and it's just held on with wire, and even at the best times it wouldn't have filtered the diesel very well. So I want to mount a proper diesel filter up here, clean this tank out and make sure it's spotless, so that it the diesel can actually travel in and out, just using it basically as a pipe, you know. Because I was thinking of making the pipe from the fuel tank go straight down to the fuel pump, but with that cover there's no holes in it, and that cover sits on here, and I don't want to drill a hole in it. I want it to look sort of original, but that's about the best way I can think of doing it. The return from the ejector comes from here to here, and then goes from there up into the tank. I'm guessing, I don't really know why it would. It could just stay there and push back into the tank there if it got too much. Bit of a strange system, but I'll have to do some more research on that. Odd. Anyway, but that's my plan for the fuel system, and we'll just see what comes of it. So I've stripped the engine down a little further. You probably can't see the bore because it's covered in oil, but it's got a little bit of pitting in there, so I might just give it a light hone, only because the rings are worn out, so I'm going to have to find new rings. I've taken the big end, the piston out, and the big end is in really good condition. It's a bit dirty in there, so I'll give it a clean up inside, but you can actually see green paint in there, so they actually painted the inside. There's the head. So see the piston there. The piston comes right up like that, so fits in there. It's all your injector. I wonder if I can see this. So the injector is actually, well, comes in just at the top there, comes down. So that little chamber inside there between the two valves, because that's your exhaust valve and then your inlet valve is on this side, between those two valves is where your injection and combustion all happens. It's a very odd system. And then that's your 3 holes there that are blocked up, and there's a little slit just there. So what exactly that is for, I'm not 100% sure, but there's a groove cut in there, so I'm guessing it fires out that way, and then these holes brings it that way when a compression happens inside there. So very unusual system, and it wouldn't be very efficient with all your exhaust and intake and that travelling through that little hole. So, but there's the piston. Really surprised that the big end is shimmed. It's got about 5 shims in there plus the big spacer, so that caught me by surprise. It's just splash lubricated, and there's the rings, but I took one off and put it in the bore, and the gap was about 4mm, so it really needs new rings. I'm going to have to try and source some of those. They'll have to be custom made, I guess, but I'll do some more investigations there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean everything up, get some new rings, sort out the diesel system like I was saying, put it back together, give it a clean, and that's about all I'm going to do with this engine. I mean, I'll make a trolley for it, but I'm not going to paint it, wire brush it or anything like that. This one's going to be left in original condition. Hopefully it all works out that way. So I won't do an update on this engine for quite a while until I've sorted all that out.